So it's that time of year again. The NBA playoffs tip off tomorrow. So we're going to be giving you our picks for every first round series except the Clippers and Mavericks, because we already talked about that on Monday. And we're also going to give you guys our picks for who we think wins it all. Before we get into our picks for the NBA playoffs, if you haven't already, make sure to leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. So we'll start off with the Western Conference, one of the two playoff series that has yet to be finalized. It's Oklahoma City against either New Orleans or Sacramento. Pelicans obviously were beaten by the Lakers, and the Kings bested Golden State, so now they're going to play later tonight. Neither New Orleans or Sacramento have much playoff experience, but they do still have more than Oklahoma City has.
Yeah, it just sucks that Zion got hurt in that Lakers game because he was balling the hell out. It was his first playoff game, put that in quotes, postseason game. And I think if they would have had a healthy Zion, maybe the Pelicans could make this a series, and now maybe Zion doesn't play tonight and the Kings got a decent chance to win if that's the case.
Yeah, if Zion's back and he's healthy, I think his ability to score on the interior could present some problems for the Thunder. Same for the Kings. I think Domantas Sabonis inside, I think could do pretty well. Obviously, Chet on the interior is a great defensive player, but the Thunder, they really do lack some size. But I don't know, the Kings haven't been the same since they lost Malik Monk, and like you're saying, if Zion's not 100%, which given his history, if that injury has any kind of significance, he's not going to be back to full strength by the time they have to play. So I think if it's the Pelicans, I think the Thunder win in 5 pretty comfortably. I think if it's the Kings, they push them a little bit further, but the Thunder still win in 6.
I think it just really depends on the Zion thing. If Zion was fully healthy,
maybe 7.
I think maybe even the Pelicans could have won the series, but now even just the hamstring injury, even if they say oh, he's ready to go, I'm just not going to buy it. So I'll probably say Thunder in 6 if it's the Pelicans, and then if it's the Kings, I'm also going to go Thunder in 6. I just think Thunder, first playoff series really with this core that there's going to be some issues here and there. They'll drop a game or two, but
I was going to say they'll drop at least one game due to inexperience.
Yeah, Kings are good at home. Pelicans not as good at home, but they're really good on the road, so they might steal one on the road. But since Zion's injured, I think the Thunder still win comfortably either way. Now we get the Lakers versus Nuggets, a rematch of the conference finals. I'm most hyped for this series out of any of them, even topping the Mavericks and Clippers at this point. And I'm a little bit more optimistic than most people. And by that, I mean, I think Denver still wins in 6. Didn't Denver still sweep the season series?
Yep, 3-0.
When is the last time the Lakers beat them? There should be no reason the Lakers even get a win. But my take is last year, that playoff series, I get it's a sweep. Make fun of me if you want.
But it was a close sweep.
The games were closer. Look, game by game. Every single game was close. This Lakers team is better than last year. Even Gabe Vincent had a decent game. D'Lo's playing the Nets all-star D'Lo. Anthony Davis is playing great. LeBron, solid as always. They're going to win a game or two, especially at home. Nuggets still win, but the Lakers at least make it competitive this time. That is my take, and I guess it's a hot take at this point from what I've seen on Twitter.
Everything you just said is entirely accurate.
Yeah.
And it will get the Lakers one extra game in this series. They are going down in 5. Look, the Nuggets have their number. For whatever reason, and as we discussed in our Lakers video literally 1 week ago, Jokic and Michael Malone just get off on beating the Lakers. And they have been doing it for the past 2 years. I think if you're the Lakers, this is when you wanted to catch the Nuggets. Get them early. You're going to have a couple days off. You're going to be rested. You're playing your best basketball of the year. Don't potentially wait till later in the playoffs to get him. So this is the best chance for the Lakers to beat the Nuggets. It's not gonna happen though. The Nuggets, they're too good. They have the best player in the world. Jamal Murray always shows up in the playoffs. They've got the better coach by a country mile. Nuggets win in 5.
That's probably true. My hot take is that there's a chance they win the series. Is it a good chance? No. Is it even a 10% chance? Probably not. But there is a chance. That's all I'm gonna say.
Your hot take isn't even that they win this series. It's that they have a 10% chance.
Like I said, look anywhere else. I've seen one Laker fan in our replies say that he picked the Lakers. Everyone else has said Nuggets in 4 or 5. So it is a hot take at this point.
That Uber driver probably would.
That's true. Yeah. He thinks they're beating them.
Yeah, probably. So the Timberwolves versus the Suns. I think if you had told people before the season that these two teams were going to play in the playoffs, a lot of people would have the seeds flipped.
I sure as hell would have. I was super high on the Suns coming to the season, and they picked it up a little bit, but I would have thought the Suns were a top 3 seed or at least 4 seed, would have had home court, but no, it was because the Timberwolves, that Rudy Gobert experiment actually seemed to work really well this season. Best defense in the league. Anthony Edwards had that leap that a lot of people predicted. But how about the Timberwolves hosting a playoff series for the first time since the Bush administration? Do people even remember him like our viewers? We barely do. We were kids at the time.
I was 6 years old.
Exactly.
I was probably playing like computer games on CartoonNetwork.com back then.
AddictingGames.com.
Yes. Yeah, the Suns, meanwhile, it just felt like all season they weren't fulfilling their potential. And I mean, considering how much of their future they've mortgaged, which is basically all of it at this point, the 6th seed is hugely disappointing. And also considering the offensive firepower that this team has, the fact that their offensive rating is only 9th, huge letdown. I mean, I think before the season, people were pointing out like, this team needs a true point guard. And they were like, oh no, we'll have Bradley Beal or Booker play point guard, because Book played point for what? A playoff series when Chris Paul was hurt. And they're like, oh yeah, no, he could do it for a whole season.
Yeah, he looked good then, but yeah, for a whole season, maybe they need a point guard, but even still, they kind of gave the Timberwolves the work during the regular season.
They did.
They swept the season series, beat them twice in the past 2 weeks, final game of the season, gave them the work, all 3 wins by 10 points or more. Going to this series, I'm actually feeling pretty good for the Suns. I mean, I picked them to win the title before the season begins, so I'm obviously biased and I'm just like, screw it. I'm kind of sticking with their hype. But if I'm a Suns fan, or, you know, if I'm Katie and Book, I'm not feeling too bad about this matchup.
I'm not either. I mean, you think the Timberwolves' strength, which is their defense, I mean, on the perimeter, they got great perimeter defenders. They got Ant, they got Jaden McDaniels, they got Mike Conley. They're phenomenal out there. But the regular season results have said otherwise. The Suns thoroughly dominated them in the regular season. In the playoffs, though, I'm really tempted to pick Minnesota. I really am. I think this series is going to go to the wire. I think it's going to go to a 7th game. And I think Phoenix gets it done on the road in Game 7. I just think they've got more experience, more playoff experience. Durant's obviously been to the mountaintop. He's won a title. Booker's been to the NBA Finals. The Wolves don't have a ton of playoff experience. They've obviously played a couple series. Mike Conley's been around the block with the Grizzlies and the Jazz. But I feel like these teams are going to play a tough series. And when it gets to a final game, I'm going to trust KD to get it done on the road.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I'm going to go Suns in 6. But I kind of feel like there's going to be a couple games this series where Cat has a little bit of a stinker, and then Book and KD and Beal just combine for 70 or something, and then it's enough. I mean, the Timberwolves, yeah, they don't have a ton of playoff experience, and what I'm worried about for the Timberwolves is they just don't have like enough bucket getters. Like in the playoffs, sometimes you just need a dude, just get a bucket. Like things slow down, defense is harder, you need someone who can just make shots and carry over stretch. Anthony Edwards can obviously do that. He did that last year, but I don't trust Cat. Gobert in the playoffs has been shaky in past years, so I think Suns in 6. I'm feeling somewhat confident about this, but I mean, the Timberwolves were great all season. I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Now on to the Eastern Conference, the second series that at this point hasn't been finalized. It's Boston against either Miami or Chicago. And at the time of this recording, there were reports that the Heat are fearing that Jimmy Butler might have suffered an MCL injury in the play-in game against the Sixers. Hasn't been confirmed though. If any new news has come out, I'll put it up on screen. Another Boston-Miami series had potentially be really interesting. Obviously, these teams have a ton of history with each other, recent history. Both fan bases, if you've ever been on Twitter, are not fond of each other, so it could have been a lot of fun. But considering Butler is now probably injured, I mean, he clearly wasn't himself against Philadelphia. And if he looks like what he looked like against Philadelphia, against Boston, it's going to be a quick series.
I mean, I still hope we get Celtics Heat just because it would still be fun. There'd be a little bit of intrigue there.
Twitter at least would be entertaining.
Yeah, Twitter would be entertaining. Maybe Jimmy's MCL knee, whatever, is completely healed. I doubt it. He was hobbling bad leaving that play-in game. But yeah, either way, I think Boston is taking it in 4 or 5. This kind of reminds me of when the Bucks went out to the Heat during the bubble, and then the next year they played each other in the first round. People are like, oh, like are the Heat gonna beat them again? And then they swept them. Yeah. So I kind of feel like that's going to be the case. Even if Jimmy was healthy, this Boston team just feels different. Now that he's injured, I mean, if he's not 100%, I think it's a sweep. In Chicago, if it's Chicago, it's a sweep either way.
If it's Chicago, yeah, so yeah.
Now the Knicks versus the 76ers, another just great 2 versus 7 matchup. And I think we're going to have some disagreements here, but we'll get into that in a second. First of all, the Sixers took down Miami thanks to Nick Batum just coming in clutch as hell. Like, that's why Nick Batum's in the fourth quarter, because the dude apparently is clutch.
Shout out Blazers legend Nick Batum. He had some clutch shots for us in his time.
Yeah, he did. Knicks won the season series 3-1. They had 3 big wins by 26, 14, and 27. They have that one loss where they scored 73 points. That was the lowest point scored, I think, this season. Maybe the Blazers scored less, but I think that might have been the lowest point scored. 73 points in 2023-2024 is crazy.
I don't think the Blazers scored less, and that's damning in and of itself.
And the Sixers, I mean, they're the 7th seed, but this isn't your normal 7th seed. They won 47 games, and when Joel Embiid played for them, they were completely dominant. They were 31-8 in games he played. That's a 65-win pace. They enter the playoffs on a 9-game winning streak if you include the play-in game. And it's also worth pointing out, Embiid played in only one of those 3 losses, so it's hard to really judge off the regular season those matchups, and then as a 2-7 matchup, like, this isn't your stereotypical 2-7 matchup whatsoever.
And on the other side, I mean, the Knicks, they're coming into the playoffs red hot too. I mean, I think a lot of people were kind of questioning their playoff chances when Julius Randle went down. Of course, Stephen A went on First Take or whatever, ESPN, and was like, you know, what he does. But they're unbeaten too since Randle went down. 5-0, they went on the road, beat Milwaukee, on the road, beat Boston. Also, since they traded for OG Anunoby, they're 20-3. So these are 2 teams that are red hot coming into the playoffs against each other. I think it's Philadelphia in this series, though. I think it's definitely going to be close. It's going to come down to whether the Knicks can slow down Joel Embiid. I mean, sounds obvious, but they're 31-8 when he plays for a reason, because he gives you 35 points and 11 boards a night. So Mitchell Robinson is going to have to be working overtime. And then for the Knicks, it's like, how do you replace the 24 points you lose when Randle is now out of the game? Can other guys step up? Because in the 5 games they won at the end of the regular season, it was a lot of Jalen Brunson carrying. He scored 43 times, and the other games he scored 39 and 30. So I just don't think they're going to have enough to do it, and I think Philadelphia wins in 6.
Okay, I'm going Knicks in 6.
Of course you are.
First of all, Jalen Brunson's balling out. Like, this dude was a top 10 player this season. I'm not saying he's a top 10 NBA player in the world, but this season he was one of the 10 best players in the league. And they got 2 very good centers to handle Embiid. You got Mitchell Robinson, you got Hartenstein, so I think they can slow him down enough. And they have like enough kind of scoring by committee. OG, DiVincenzo was shot the lights out this year. You got guys like Josh Hart. Defensively, they're great. They can play great on the boards. They got the size. Jalen Brunson's gonna hit some clutch shots and go off for 40 a couple times. I got the Knicks winning this in 6.
Bucks versus Pacers now. Of course, I picked the Bucks to win the NBA championship. I did so even after they fired Adrian Griffin after only 43 games and brought in good old Doc. I said that thinking Doc could at the very least go 500 with that roster. He couldn't even do that, and now they're starting their playoff run with Indiana, a team that in the regular season was a terrible matchup for them. They actually played each other 5 times because they met in extra time in the midseason tournament. Indiana went 4-1, and the only game they lost was the game Giannis scored 64. It took Giannis setting a franchise record for points in a game just for the Bucks to beat the Pacers.
Yeah, and Giannis might not even be healthy for the first couple games, so yeah, that is scary for the Milwaukee Bucks, especially when in those 4 games they gave up 126, 128, 122, and 142, and even the game they won, they still gave up 126 because Damian Lillard cannot handle Tyrese Halliburton on the perimeter. I don't know how to feel about this, especially the Giannis injury. Like, if Giannis was healthy, I would say Bucks in 6 for sure. Him maybe being injured or maybe not being at full strength. Oh, this is a really scary matchup for the Bucks.
It's a bad matchup for the Bucks too, because Indiana's got the #1 scoring offense in the NBA. They're 2nd in offensive rating. I mean, they can't guard a stick, but for most of the season, Milwaukee hasn't either.
True.
They've improved a bit under Doc. Like, I think he's gotten their defensive rating back into the top half of the league since he took over. It's still not a strength. And like you said, we love Dame to death. He can't handle Tyrese Halliburton at all.
I'm gonna say Bucks in 6 still, even with Giannis, you know, the questions. I'm riding on Dame. Like, last time Dame was in a playoff series a while ago, 3 years ago, but he was great. I mean, traditionally, ever since kind of that Pelican series, he's been solid in the playoffs. I think Dame steps up. I think Giannis plays. He plays well. I think we're gonna get some shootouts, and I'm sure the Pacers will find a way to drop like 140 in one game. But the Bucks get it done. They got more experience. They got the better team. Not sure if they have the better coach, but
they don't have the better coach.
They got the best player in this series, so I'm taking Bucks in 6.
I'm going to take Bucks in 7, and I think this is going to be shootout city. Like, these are going to be a lot of 135, 130 games. I mean, I don't trust the Bucks defense at all this year. The Pacers defense we know isn't good, so it's going to come down to which team can outscore the other. The Giannis injury is scary, but I have to ride with Dame. Like you said, I believe in Dame in the playoffs. I think the Bucks get it done. I think they need to score a lot of points to do it, but I think they get it done in 7.
Now the Cavs versus the Magic 4-5 matchup out east. This series reminds me actually a lot of the Cavs versus Knicks last year. The Cavs once again to the 4th seed. The Magic, on the other hand, back in the playoffs for the first time since 2020. Shout out Magic fans out there. They split the season series 2-2. They're kind of similar teams in a way. They're very good defensive teams led by an offensive star. Cavs, maybe you could say it was a bit of a disappointment. They had that one stretch where they were insane. They were 18-2 over a 20-game stretch, but they really faded as of recently, and they got destroyed by injuries. Mitchell, Garland, and Mobley missed a ton of time, but they're expected to be mostly healthy. They might be without some role players like Dean Wade, and they still boast the 6th best defensive rate in the league. I don't know. This is another one where it's kind of a toss-up, but the Cavs, they should win. Like, they kind of have no excuses. They're more experienced. They have the best player in the series. They have home court, but they also had some of that stuff last year.
They had all that stuff last year.
Yeah, remember Jared Allen, the lights were a bit too bright.
Just a bit. I mean, the Cavs, I think, they've got to be a little bit disappointed with this season. I know they were crushed by injuries, but I really thought that this was going to be the year where they really take that next step into the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference. And I mean, hell, it was right there for them. Just a couple more wins throughout the season, you could easily be the 2nd seed rather than the 4th seed. Orlando, on the other hand, they may not have won as many games as the Cavs, but I mean, few expect them to be a top 5 seed, much less make the playoffs. Like Cleveland, they're a defensive-minded team. They're 4th in the NBA in defensive rating. They've got an offensive superstar in Paolo Banchero. He avoided the dreaded sophomore slump. He's improved across the board this year. And after him and Franz Wagner, it's kind of scoring by committee. It's, Jalen Suggs, Wendell Carter, Cole Anthony, Mo Wagner, Markelle Fultz. If both teams played to a defensive push, though, I think you have to trust in the team that has the better offense and the better scores. And I think that's Cleveland. I trust Donovan Mitchell. I know really ever since his rookie year, he's kind of not played very well in the playoffs, but I trust him more than Banchero at this point.
And the Cavs got to be hungry. They got embarrassed last year. Donovan Mitchell, he's got to come out playing hot. It's going to be a low scoring. There's going to be some ugly or beautiful basketball, depending on what you like to watch.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, but my main thing with Orlando is kind of like you said, are they going to be able to score enough points? And they're shooting. They were last in 3-pointers made. In the playoffs, you just need to hit some shots, sometimes go on some runs. And I think there's going to be some stretches where they just kind of go cold, and the experience of the Cavs will get them the win in 6.
I think Cavs in 5. That's nothing against Orlando. I just think the Cavs steal a game on the road in either games 3 or 4, and then they close it out in game 5 in Cleveland. Still, phenomenal season for the Magic. Absolutely building to something bigger and even better. But I think this year, it's Cleveland in 5. So now to wrap it up, just our predictions for the whole of the playoffs. We're not going to do the whole bracket thing because that would take forever, and this video is long enough as is. So Western Conference Finals, I got Denver and I got Dallas. I think Dallas takes down OKC in the 2nd round. I think it's a close series, but I think Dallas makes it work. Obviously, I think the Nuggets are going to roll through the Western Conference bracket. I think they go to the NBA Finals, but in the conference finals, I got Dallas and Denver.
Mine is similar, but I'm actually going to say OKC makes the conference finals.
Okay.
I want to give them their respect. I know they're young. We kind of just talked about how they're young and a little bit vulnerable, but I think they beat Dallas in 7 in the 2nd round. But then I think Denver just handles them in 5 in the conference finals.
Makes sense.
Now out east, I got the Boston Celtics. How can you not? Meeting them, I guess I'll take the Bucks. I don't feel super confident about that, but who else am I going to take? Am I going to take the Knicks, the 76ers? I don't really like any other team a ton either. I'm not picking the Pacers to make the conference finals. So I'm going to say Celtics over Bucks in the conference finals in 6.
And I'm saying Milwaukee over Boston.
Oh my God.
In the conference finals in 6.
Dude.
I picked Milwaukee before the season. I am sticking with them. I have virtually no confidence in that pick whatsoever, but I'm riding or dying with Damian Lillard. They're getting to the NBA Finals. They're beating the Nuggets.
Dude, what?
Milwaukee is winning it all this year. I have zero confidence in this, but I gotta stick it out.
You've lost the plot, but I at least respect you.
I made a pick and I'm sticking with with it.
Okay, well, I obviously got Celtics, Nuggets in the NBA Finals. I'm gonna take Denver in 7. I really want to take the Boston Celtics. Surprisingly for me, a guy who hates the Celtics. But the Celtics, I mean, they've just been so dominant all year. But they remind me a lot of the San Francisco 49ers. Like, they're insane. Every year it's like, okay, this is the year. They're gonna do it. And the Nuggets feel like the Chiefs. Like, 49ers might even be the better team. Celtics might be the better team. Nuggets got the best player. Chiefs had the best quarterback. They'll find a way to win it. I think it'll be a very close series, very good series. But the Denver Nuggets go back to back.
That's the video, guys. What are your predictions for the NBA playoffs this year? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving it a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.